Hello and welcome to Back on Track, Overcoming Weight Regain. I am your host, Dr. Alicia Shelley. I'm so excited to have our guest today. Her name is Alicia Black. Now, Alicia is the host of Finding Myself Through Obesity podcast. On her podcast, she talks about how she lost 85 pounds while documenting her journey on YouTube and then regained the weight due to depression. And now she discusses how healing emotionally allows her to have lost weight now for good. So please welcome her to the podcast. I'm so glad that you're here today, our fellow podcaster.
Thank you. Yes. I just barely started my podcast. I'll be putting my 20th episode out or tomorrow. So,
well, congratulations. Because I'm at the point of this recording, I'm at podcast number 28. So you're only like eight weeks behind. So we started around the same time.
Wow, that's really awesome.
So congratulations. Really awesome. Well, was there anything else you wanted to tell us more about yourself?
Okay, well, my story is kind of interesting because I had, 25 years of wishing that I could lose weight and constantly just getting bigger and bigger as I had kids. And then I would lose weight and then I would gain it back and lose and gain. And this last time, it was 2 years ago, I, just decided I was going to go on to YouTube and just claim to the world, I'm going to lose this weight. So I put this video together on my YouTube channel, and it was interesting because I showed my whole body. I did the twirl around. Here's what I look like, and I just don't care what it takes. I'm going to do this. So that was the first day that I started on my new journey of losing weight. I'm sorry if that's can you hear those beeps?
It's okay, no worries. We'll edit it out. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know how to turn that off. I've got to haven't really figured out the Apple yet, but anyway, so so I got on there. I used Isagenix and I lost 85 pounds within 8 or 9 months, and I hardly had any hiccups. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, what happened to me? And it made me feel like I wanted to help other women lose weight. And the one question that I had for myself is, I don't know how I got here though. You know how people have those moments where they're like, I just had this moment, I was ready to change. Well, this happened to me, but I didn't really know why or how to recreate it and how to help someone else come to that place where they want to, upgrade their health. So anyways, after losing that, I was just kind of had that in the back of my mind thinking, okay, how am I going to help people? But what happened was with my husband, actually, as I got happier, my husband struggled more and he started having suicidal thoughts, and he was just in a really dark place. And so then I started getting really scared of, I don't know, just feeling like I can't. So what happened is, sorry, I just got this phone call. I got distracted for a second. But what happened was, since my husband, took him to the doctor and they prescribed him this medication that he was previously addicted to. And so the reason why I'm sharing how it's important to share that, because, 6 years ago, before that, I was in this place where I was really scared. I was in this place where I was fearing, what was going to happen. And so it's important that I was in a place where I didn't know how to manage my emotions. And that's when I had to that's when I started turning to food. And I remember going to the crumble cookie every single day and just thinking, this is the last day I'm going to eat this cookie. This is the last day. And it was just little by little, it started creeping back on. And then we had 2020 hit, and I was just so embarrassed because I had put it on YouTube and it was very public, and I remembered specific comments that people like my neighbors or people at my church would mention what I looked like, where we were. Like, I remembered those comments. And so I didn't want to see anyone. And I'm really a social person. So I felt like I was sinking into a depression. I've never been in a depression really bad like my husband has, but into a place where I was like losing interest in things that I usually love, like my kids, like taking care of my kids and being, just being present in my life. And so I kept trying to search for answers, and my son's coming in here. I love you. You heading out? Okay. So I kept searching for answers. I didn't ever give up, but I was in a really, really dark place. Like I just remember, being really concerned about not wanting, like my son came to me and said, "Mom, why are you crying all the time?" And I was just this point where I'm like, "I'm sorry, I just can't fake it. I can't. This is just how I feel." And so anyways, the first thing that happened to me was, I guess I did a lot of things. Like I did a Tony Robbins thing, and I would always get better, and then I would come back to my place of, being stuck again. So one of the first steps that I took was I signed up for a Kathy Heller 5-day challenge last year in January. And I actually didn't even show up to the first day, but she shared this story about her mother being depressed and wasting her life on the couch. And she said her mom was a performer and a singer, and I'm a performer and a singer. And I was like, wow, I don't want my kids to remember their mom like that. And so that was then and she's a very good speaker. So she inspired me to stop hiding. Even if I've gained all my weight back, show up in the world again and start singing again. So the first step that I took was I started a TikTok and I started doing little videos of me singing. And that was amazing. And I felt like a little piece of myself came back. But it's, the journey is like up and down, but there was still a missing piece where I felt like I wanted to, I knew I wanted to do a podcast and I wanted to help women, but I still didn't feel like I knew how to help. So then just this past, I think it was August, I had one of my best friends tell me, "You've got to get with this girl named Angel." And for some reason, she just felt this feeling that we needed to get together and connect. And so I reached out to her and she invited me to go to one of her 12-week courses, and it's changed my life. So, in your questionnaire, you asked about, how we started losing weight again. And I haven't started losing weight again. Right now, I am working on my inner being, my soul. And my podcast is all about opening up all the dark places in my life. Things that I didn't want to see, things I didn't want to, I guess, acknowledge about myself. And so that's where so my podcast is finding myself through obesity. And I am just being honest about who I am and opening up the things that I, like my dishonesty and just different things that I was a victim in my marriage for 25 years when I'm married to this amazing human being. But because my life wasn't aligning with what I expected it to be, I played the victim, not knowing I was innocent in all of this. But just seeing that, I was blaming all of my problems on everyone else and not taking any responsibility. One of the first things that my mentor said, one of the first things was she said to close your eyes and breathe and say, "I belong to me." And I remember doing that, and I hated that feeling. I belong to me. And inside my body was like, oh, I don't like that. And there was women that are very connected that they are wanting to belong to themselves. And they're like, I feel free. I feel so amazing. I feel like anything's possible. And for me, I'm like, I can't breathe. And so it's just a clue. So starting to recognize what the clues are and starting to trust ourselves. But first we have to stop rejecting like the image that we see in the mirror. Start being kind to us and listening, and stop judging and criticizing and start listening. And so I'm hoping, and I feel in every part of my body, that I will lose this weight. But I'm doing it from the inside out. And I feel like there's still some layers of things of fear that I have around money that I'm really trying to dig deep into. And I know I know that this will work because when we are 300 pounds, we are eating for a reason. It's not just because have bad habits. Like, to get 300 pounds, you have to really eat to feel those emotions that you don't want to feel. So I'm like, this body, I can look in the mirror and be like, I love that girl that I see. I may not have the body that I want right now, but I
Mhm.
accept it. I accept this body. I accept that this is the size that I am right now. And I want to upgrade as soon as my body is ready to release it. And so now I can look at myself and look in my soul and see who I am
Mhm.
and stop just looking outside of me. And so that's my journey, is really getting connected with me, bringing to light all the things that I think all the fat on my body has represented this little girl that didn't want to be seen because it was not the expectation that I wanted to become when I was an adult. I didn't have the marriage that I dreamed of having. I thought everything should be perfect. And here I was victimizing this amazing man that has given everything to me, to the point where he is suffering from his own mental health, just trying to prove his love to me.
Mm.
He loves me so much. And just to realize how much I've taken from the possibility of our marriage. And so there's so much
Mhm.
expansive growth in my life right now that I'm just excited about the marriage that I'm going to have with my husband. We were high school sweethearts. I'm excited about the health. I no longer want to have a body so that I look good to the outside world. I want a body that frees me from limitations so that
Mhm.
anything is possible. And I just know that it will happen if I continue to keep looking at my soul and keep learning, because it's never like a straight line journey. It's always ups and downs, and the ups are amazing. When you're ups, I mean, when you're feeling good, meaning up, they're amazing. And then the downs, you realize, you know what? My body, my soul, my God is trying to tell me something. Let's start looking at it. Let's
Well, I
start
think
look
I was like, thank you so much for just sharing kind of how you transition, because there's many women and men who are in that same place that you were just a little while ago, where it's just they had lost weight, regained it, but then they realized that they were just in a low place, just emotionally, physically, spiritually, all of the above.
Mhm.
What was it that clicked for you that it was like, I need to, like, there's something else that's going on? Like, you mentioned that when you were 300 pounds you were eating, but you were doing that to fuel that emptiness that you felt. What was
Mhm.
it? I know you mentioned Carol Heller and you mentioned Angel's 12-week course. What was
Mhm.
it that maybe they taught you that kind of helped you to kind of change your mindset and kind of focus a little bit more on where you were to heal at this point?
Honestly, I feel like everything happened exactly the way it needed to, in the order it needed to happen.
Mhm,
So I think because I was searching for answers
mhm,
and I kept searching, I found those people that I was connected with. And then the other thing was, since I had lost my weight so publicly,
mhm,
there was a level of shame that was really big.
mhm,
Um, and so I recognized when I took Kathy Heller's class that I was waiting to lose weight to love myself.
mm,
I was waiting to lose weight to start singing again. I was waiting to lose weight to live my life. And a lot of us do that. We think if we could just get on the right diet, if we could just lose the weight, then our life can start.
mm,
And Kathy Heller taught me that that there's another way, but I couldn't grasp it until I did the work with Angel, because I said, "But I don't want to accept this body. I don't want to be in this body. How do I go out there and be like, just love your big body? And I don't want to be in a big body. So I didn't know how to align acceptance
Mhm.
with my body. But what Angel taught me is that it's not about accepting your body.
Yeah.
It's about accepting your soul and the person that is inside of you.
Okay.
And then I was like, "Oh, so I can look in the mirror and see my eyes. I don't have to love that I'm 300 pounds."
Mhm. Mhm.
That didn't feel right to me because I didn't feel like I wanted to accept this life of limitations, you know? Life
Mhm.
gets hard when you're 300 pounds. Things are hard. So, I think it's just all the little pieces, but I think that's the biggest one
Mhm.
is realizing that I needed to accept my body, but it didn't mean accept my body.
Mhm.
It meant what's the word? Love it? Who? Um, accept that it is what it is right now.
Yeah.
What it
Accept
is.
who you are.
Yes, accept that I am 300 pounds now, and
Mhm.
that's okay because that's just the truth.
Yeah. And that's
So,
where you are. And when you worked with Angel, so is Angel, what type of professional is Angel? Is she a life coach,
she is a
psychologist, or
she is a soul mentor.
soul mentor? Okay, all right. So
Yes,
soul mentor. So
yes,
working with Angel, it helped you get more clarity on where you are emotionally.
yep.
And was there anything that you did outside of, like, in addition to the 12-week program, was there anything that you were doing, I guess, any other work you did outside? Were you journaling? Were you, how else were you kind of managing going through the different emotions you were having to get to
That
the
is
place you are now?
Yes, that is a great question, and that is where my podcast comes in play because
Mhm.
what I did to start my podcast, I finally with Kathy, I didn't know how exactly I wanted to align my podcast until I was with Angel, and then I'm like, "Oh, there it is.
Mhm.
There it is, finding myself through obesity. It's through it that I'm going to get on the other side, not to avoid it." And
Mhm.
so I got a piece of paper and pen and I wrote down all the things that I'm not
Mhm.
happy with in my life. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then each podcast episode, when I first started my podcast, is digging deep into
Mhm.
each one of those issues. Why am I not happy with this? And what is my part? What have I done to contribute to the unhappiness in that relationship or the unhappiness around that issue? And it was like, whoa. So I unloaded all the stuff,
Mhm.
but stopped being a victim, like took full responsibility for my part, like my marriage. It was all about what did I do
Mhm.
with my parents. It was like, okay, how did I show up? Like what things did I take from my experience? What beliefs did I take from them that are not serving me, but I just haven't had the I didn't realize that I got to choose.
Mhm.
I get to choose to leave that belief right over here if it's not serving me. But I grew up being this people-pleasing little girl that was dad's favorite, that got a ton of attention because I was a performer, and
Mhm.
I never had to look in, and
Mhm.
I never knew how to because I never had to. I could go out and find friends, I could have people love me, but it was only surface, and it only can get so deep.
Mhm.
And so that's why I think it took me so long to get to this point. But I've had, just an amazing experience. But yes, that was an awesome thing for me to dig into those and be like, "Wow, oh man, I was a victim," and just bringing it to light lets go of all the power, you
Mm.
know?
So just to recap, what I heard you say is that not only did you accept where you were, you then delve deep and seeing the different areas where you're unhappy and how and what was your role in it and playing a
Yeah,
role there.
yeah.
What tips, what advice would you give to somebody who's in the same place you were not too long ago? How would you help them to get through?
Ooh,
Oh,
this is what I love when I have these podcast interviews. I'm like, wow, I have learned a lot. So the first step is breathing.
okay.
Simple, right?
Mhm.
Deep breaths. And what my mentor taught me is to, put your feet on the ground and take a big deep breath in and hold that breath in. And you imagine love just permeating your body from your feet clear to your head, and hold on to that breath with the love. Just imagine it just feeling in there, and then you just let it out. And
Mhm.
you can do that anytime, anywhere. So that's the first thing. Then the second thing is meditation, because meditation, you are able to create a new reality, especially if you're in a bad situation at home or in a situation where you're not happy with it. It's hard to like pull yourself out of that. But if you could have a practice of meditation, of dreaming about like a life that you want, maybe a home that you want to build, dream home, picture yourself in this home, and you're sitting, what does it smell like in your home? What colors do you see? How warm is it? What people are with you? What do they look like? How are they happy? Are you happy? What food is on the table? And the colors, the smells, like just bring as much of that present, like just the details of it, and create your own reality of what you want life to be.
Mhm.
And then as we have those emotions in our body, even if it's created through a meditation, our body doesn't know the difference, right? And I'm sure you know all this. So breathing, meditation, and then the other thing that my mentor uses a lot is loving what is. So
Mhm.
asking yourself, if you have a question, if you read the book Loving What Is, um, oh, I the name of the lady is just dropped my mind. Anyway, she is an amazing life coach,
Mhm.
and always says, so when you have a problem, you say, "Is this true?"
Mhm.
There's like if you go to her, there's a website that she has that you can like download worksheets,
Mhm.
and you can see if what you're saying to yourself is a lie or if it's truth. Because if most of the things that we're telling ourselves are not even true, like
Mhm.
for me to say, that I am not as valuable because I'm 300 pounds, the world might perceive that I'm
Mhm.
not as valuable, but what's true according to God, according to my parents, my children, my husband, I didn't lose any value. They just want to see me happy,
That's
so it's not truth.
true.
It's not truth that I lost value because of my size. It's a story that the world teaches us what is right, what is wrong, what is this, what is that, right? So
Mm.
finding the truth, and you're going to find as you dig into the truth that most of the things you believe are lies. It's like, what? That's not true? Oh my goodness, I believed that my whole life. So,
Well, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast, sharing your story, sharing your truth. How can someone work with you, or how can they find you?
okay, so I am on finding myself through obesity.com is my website. I have my podcast episodes are also on a blog,
Mhm.
and I'm on TikTok as Alicia Black. And I think I sent you all of my socials. I
You
have
do.
Facebook and Instagram,
Mhm.
finding myself through obesity, or you can find me. I'm kind of like in between. I have a lot of, I want to share my experiences with my personal page, and so I'm kind of both places, which is okay. But yeah, I would love to. And then in 2022, I am going to launch my membership. I need to get together with my soul mentor and see how I can write a program that can help people get to this place that I'm at. And that's what I'm doing right now is I'm in another 12-week course that I'm just continually working on myself so that I can be really centered. And when we're centered, the answers come to us. We are like our own lie detectors. When we're
Yeah.
centered, we can know what's real and what's true. And so sometime this year, I'm going to be putting together a membership so that we can have this community that understands each other, that supports each other, and I think that's what it's about, is having an experience together when you feel understood and you feel loved and accepted, and that's what I wanna create, and I'm excited. So there's a lot of things I'm gonna be facing, a lot of fears, but it's gonna happen. This year is gonna be amazing. I feel very blessed, and I thank you for having me on. I'm just so grateful to meet you and for you to take the time to listen to my story. I'm so grateful.
Well, thank you so much for sharing and being willing to share your story. And you all need to go to her website to get on her newsletter so that you can be the first people to know about her membership course when it comes out. I know
Yes,
it's going to be great. It's going to be
thank
great.
you. Thank you so much. That means so much to me, so I
You-
appreciate
You're,
it.
you're very welcome. And thank you all again for joining us on the Back on Track Overcoming Weight Regain. We look forward to seeing you next time.